Chair recognizes the gentleman from Wisconsin, the chair of the Subcommittee on Federal Lands, Mr. Tiffany.
Mr. Secretary, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I'm going to allow you to answer them. Has the Department of Interior and DOGE reviewed spending that has gone on in the Department of Interior, identifying things that are woke, DEI, waste, fraud, and abuse? Have you and/or DOGE entered into that exercise?
Yes, and at least within the Department of Interior, the work that's been done since the time that I have taken position has all been authorized and driven by me. There's no outside, quote, influence or whatever. We're looking for efficiency across all of that. But yes, we have undertaken that work.
Might we expect some items from Interior in a future rescissions bill?
I'm sorry?
Might we expect some items from the executive branch in a future rescissions bill?
Yes.
Will you be funding eco-grief trainings in the future in the Department of Interior like the previous administration?
I'm not familiar with that term.
You're not familiar with eco-grief?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, okay. Pittman-Robertson Fund, Dingle Johnson. I have a document here from the state of Wisconsin in regards to spending here, and the largest line item or a group item here is, I believe it's $17 million for PILT funding, payment in lieu of taxes, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. Is that what we expect from those programs, is that they're paying payment in lieu of taxes rather than habitat restoration or whatever?
My understanding is that the Robertson Pittman should be going towards restoring habitat. So,
the thing that I would ask is, will the agency be reviewing Pittman-Robertson and Dingle Johnson funds going out to the various states? Will there be accountability? Will you be asking the states to show what they are spending this money on, which is excise taxes from sportsmen, right?
yes.
Will you be seeking accountability within the Department of Interior for those programs?
I'm going to take an action item right now from my team that's behind me that we should dig into this. Thank you for making me aware that some of that money may not be directed as required.
I've been really frustrated by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. There was an incident in my district a couple years ago when it was 25 below on January 20, I believe it was the end of January, where a tribe shut down some roads. And I made a request to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, by the way, endangering people's lives, as you can imagine, shutting down 4 roads. And I made a request to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, could you share the information on those roads, because were they funded with public money? Because roads, my understanding is that roads cannot be shut down if they are being paid for by public dollars. The Bureau of Indian Affairs would not provide me that information, and it took a court order in order to get that information to find out what the appraisals were on those roads. Will we have greater transparency in regards to the Bureau of Indian Affairs and accountability to those of us in Congress that are simply asking questions?
Well, happy to work with you on that, sir.
So also in regards to Bureau of Indian Affairs and the budget for the Department of Interior, I've seen millions of dollars that have been dedicated to litigation, that the tribes are sent money that they can litigate. And I've heard from state actors like our Department of Natural Resources a number of years ago that this money was being used against them in the state of Wisconsin. And I'm hearing from tribal interests who are saying, we need money for housing, we need money for law enforcement, stuff like that. Could you do a thorough review to make sure that there's things that are being funded, and being from North Dakota, I'm sure you're very familiar with the needs of Indian country. Rather than spending it on litigation, can we spend it on other things that seem to be more important, like housing and law enforcement?
That's an excellent suggestion. Thank you, sir.
And are you aware that I've heard from researchers that you have to put climate change in any of the, if you're seeking to receive a grant from the Department of Interior, as well as other agencies like the EPA, will you be issuing grants that can be done for a variety of purposes, not simply having to have climate change in order to receive that funding from the federal government?
I wasn't aware, that may have been a requirement in the past, but going forward, that will not be a requirement.
I'd be happy to share information in regards to that. And I hope at some point you get a chance to comment on how we can update the national park system to do the things that would give greater flexibility and maximizing the visitor experience in our national park system. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.